All right, so I have the coolant bypass delete done on my car. So when I take the upper intake off, I won't have to drain any coolant. So I get to skip that step. I also don't have air conditioning on the car, so I'm not sure if that would be something that needs to be removed to do this job. So you need to check the service manual. I highly recommend getting the factory service manual. Actually use the service manual, and basically I rebuilt the engine. I made this list of how to take the engine out of this car and put it back in with all the tools you need. I'm gonna mark my list so I know what to do and in what order. So we're gonna do nope. Intake hard pipes. Yep. Strut bar. Yep. Already did that. Loosen the throttle cable. Yep. We're gonna leave the hood. I am gonna disconnect the battery just because. Chassis fuel lines, balance tube, wiring harness, plenum. Yep. Fuel injector rail. Yep. So that's it. We got to take the hard pipes off. Strut bar's gone. Loosen the throttle cable so we can disconnect it. Take negative off the battery ground just because. Why not? Fuel lines, balance tube, the whole wiring harness. Then undo the plenum, injector rail, spark plug coil. So now we're going to release the throttle cable. Alright, now I'm going to disconnect the negative battery cable, which for me is a quick disconnect. Alright, got some extra rags to disconnect the fuel lines. The pressure was relieved earlier, so we shouldn't get sprayed in the face. But
there is so much to talk about after this season opener. Former F1 driver and one-time championship contender Mark Webber will conduct the podium interviews. That'll be interesting between one of his old teammates, Sebastian Vettel, who had one of the most vitriolic and toxic relationships ever. But they get on well now, we should add. And I think Mark will be very pleased for Sebastian. He can hang in there for another 2 laps. Do you know Ferrari petition? Vettel Radio. P1 Sebastian, P1. Awesome drive. That's the way to do it. Grande Sebastian. Bravissimo. Un martello. Complimenti. Forza Ferrari, ragazzi. Questa è per noi. Tutti noi. Qui in pista, anche in Maranello. Grazie a tutti. We're going to have a Titanic battle this year because don't forget Kimi Raikkonen. There's been a flag there. Finally got there. Kimi Raikkonen. So Mercedes and Honda, these guys on the track there.
all right, so there's the first tube. We gotta do one more Phillips head there, but that's the forward fuel lines. We gotta get those off.
Everything you get from a sports car. Great XE offers. Visit your Jaguar
Alright, so that's that. More vacuum tube and gasoline's going everywhere. And what a fail. What a fail. So that is that. Fuel lines now removed. All right, now we're going to remove the balance tube. We got one bolt here. And there is a hose in the back here. Take that clamp back. Alright, missed this guy, so don't forget that guy in the back. Alright, and then just... Alright, by removing the balance tube, we open up these two bolts for this, I think this is the damper. Fuel damper. And then I'm going to get the clamp off. I'm going to do this one.
The original NASCAR battlefield celebrates 70 years.
What's happening? Just letting you know I'm there.
Alright, shoving a rag down here to kind of try to catch some of this. I don't know, this is all full of fuel, man. Alright, we're going to take the harness off. So you want to disconnect, we'll start with the 6 coil plugs. Okay, we got the coil plugs 2, 4, 6, 1, 3, 5. All right, I've got to take off my other PCV relocation. Okay, we got the fuel injector connectors off. There's 2, 4, 6, and then down here is 1, here is 3, and there's 5. I've still got the balance tube O-rings. They just sat in the plenum. I'm going to have to keep track of those when I take the plenum out. Okay, now we're going to disconnect the throttle position sensor. There's 2 connectors, this gray one. And then I've got a throttle position sensor feed to my data logger, so I did that. And then last one is this is the one with the pull clip, which are kind of you want to be careful not to lose this one. There's one last hidden connector back here, this idle air control. It's got the metal clip, so you got to use a flathead screwdriver and be careful because you don't want to drop it. All right, we're going to release the brake vacuum feed. This vacuum tube, it loops around and then it comes back up there. Hidden down here next to the number 2 injector, there's another engine harness connector that needs to be taken off. Continuing on, we'll release the harness guides from each side of the plenum. And then there are some grounds. This one apparently, from what I read online, is really critical for not frying electronic components. There's another one right here. This is another ground. I'm going to release this PCV hose so that the plumbing will stay in the car. Okay, so I've taken the PCV hoses off the lower back part of the intake, both sides. Next, we're going to take the spark plugs off, these two bolts right here. And then I think the next thing will be undoing the upper intake bolts. I found one more thing to disassemble from the plenum. You need to take these bolts off, or there's a Phillips head on a clamp down there. That's also, I guess, an option. So I think I'm going to do both and try to just get it out of the way. We took the ignition coils off. The 6 of them are off now, and then we're going to take the plenum bolt. The 2 back there, and then these 2, those 2, and those 2. We got one more impediment. This is another idle air control. It was a clamp hidden in the back. So the pipe comes around, it connects to that side, the side harness guide. So we're gonna take that off. I also kind of exposed the number 6 cylinder back there. I covered it with some tape, just make sure nothing fell in it. I was actually able to just pull the 2, they're back here. It's blue and yellow on my car. Man, the connector's a mess. We'll tape that up. Those pulled off, and then I got that hose disconnected, and so I can lift this out myself as I break my back. Bend at the knees. Oh, fuck. So I'm going to shove a rag in these, and then I'm going to vacuum things out, take the fuel rail out. Okay, so we got the rag shoved in there. Wrapping up day 1, which includes the disassembly. So I took the fasteners out of the fuel injector rail, but I just left it in place instead of trying to cover the holes. And I still have the rags in. So I'm going to cover this. Now I got to figure out where to get the parts and who to get them from, etc., etc. But halfway home.